I don't think you agree with anyone.
I like to agree, just disagree, just to disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
I just hit live. It says it's going. So let me see if I can find a link.
Yeah. Typically, you should be able to have a link before.
I know. Well, I logged into YouTube in OBS and it's acting a little weird.
Okay. Are you using PC or Mac? Let's start the trouble right
I'm on
there.
PC.
Uh,
Is that
that's the
a
first thing.
problem?
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Torquelist. Yeah, it says live stream offline.
Torque List.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Look
Is
around
it?
anybody and you'll find lots of small businesses.
No, there's something that says live here. Auto prices. What's going on? RVs, EVs. Let me see if I can. Oh, we're live.
Yeah, that was.
Prices.
What's
What's
that?
going on? No, that's all us. Let me shut it off so you don't hear the echo of that. Looks like we're live. We should be. We're feeding out to the people, I think. So you should, from your OBS, be able to see comments and things like that rolling in somewhere. And then I don't use OBS, so
Yeah, I may have to not use it after this. What's happening?
yeah, I use something specifically for Mac called Ecamm.
It's frustrating me that I can't find it.
Yeah. But it looks like it's there. When I hit it,
Now I
started
got it.
playing it. All right, there you go. But it looks like it. So for if anyone is out there watching us,
Yeah, sorry about that.
this is the growing pains of. Is this your first episode?
There it is. I sent you a link. All right. So Hank's the EV evangelist. He loves them. But I pulled up. I got the actual prices. If you want to look at Hertz,
I love all cars, man. All
me too.
cars.
So you can get a
Yeah.
Tesla 3 for like 22 grand with 28,000 miles on Hertz right now. Or
Let me ask you this. Since you're jumping right in, we haven't even established rules of what you're doing here.
there's no
You
rules.
haven't e- you haven't even like introduced your audience to all your guests and all that
Sure.
kind of
Let's go
stuff.
back. We have Khalil,
Yeah.
the fact checker. We have Hank, the EV evangelist. We have Paul, just all around gearhead, and me, also all
Okay.
around gearhead. But
All right.
nobody here is a big fan of EVs as you are, Hank. You're the EV
Yeah.
guy. You had the Audi,
Um,
the the e-tron.
I had the Audi e-tron, but I've had quite a few Audis.
What other electric?
Um,
Your wife's in
I've
the
had I've had a model. Yeah, I've had a Model Y, Model X. I have an e-Transit van right now.
You have a gas. Do you have a
So
diesel
amongst other
transit
things.
and or do you have a gas in it?
Yeah, my regular Transit is a gas all-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got it's the 350 HD, so it has the V6 twin turbo.
So it's a one ton.
Yeah, I guess you can put it at that. That's what I'm sitting in right now.
You're in the van. In the van right
Yep,
now. All right. Well,
in
let's
the
jump
van.
into
Yeah.
a little bit of EV pricing because you were saying it wasn't true that the prices were dumping, and I mean, I'm seeing
No,
Hertz
I think
now.
prices are down on everything. So, like, I think when
Well,
people are talking about car prices,
EVs are worse. Like that's a Mercedes EQB for 33 grand. Like what was the MSRP on those?
where do you see the Mercedes? Is this on the
If you go to the live, it'll show because I switched to it.
Okay.
Like they
Yeah.
were, yeah, it was
Not
$54,000. But you
Hmm.
go on Hertz now and you can get it for 33, and it's only a year old.
Yeah. I think that's common amongst. I would say that's definitely common amongst e like a lot of EVs that are out there, right? Because most people in the market don't understand it. But what I was saying to you, that if you look at media, they're saying that people aren't buying EVs at all. I think that EVs are still a growing segment of the car market.
So you can get a Volt for 18 grand. Here's one right here.
Yeah,
Volt.
Volts weren't expensive in the first place.
what demographic are we talking? What area of the country are we talking about? Because there's definitely different you know densities of people who've adopted EV as a mode of transit. I mean, I know my neighbor's got one, and a couple of my neighbors just bought two brand new Key EV6s, the GT lines, and they love them. But I've heard in California there's so many EVs on the road that they're now running into issues with the gas tax. They're running
Yeah,
in issues in with revenues being down, taxes being generated because gas vehicles are on such a
The
decline.
G6 is a
That's
$4,000 MSRP.
The GT line, yeah, they don't have the GTs, they have the GT line, which I guess is a performance pack, but not the triple or double motor or whatever they
And you're
call it.
60 in 4.5 seconds. That's pretty quick.
so I can
Oh, they're
I can say
yeah,
that's true. I mean, this is Cleo. I'm talking from California. I know that
yep.
so they have um they do tax you on that. So if you like, even with hybrids, you still have to get the smog checks and everything, and they're looking at ways to do the same type of smog check type thing for EVs. So like if you have an EV, you still have to do something similar to a smog check out here. Um, one of the
It's
things,
an equivalent
one of the
carbon
things,
footprint, right?
and I was saying one of the things really is hard to look at is that, like, the infrastructure, right? Like, so the West Coast is kind of set up for that in terms of where you do get some of these sites, but if you don't have like a Tesla, and it's interesting to see, Hank, like you've got some of the European vehicles and stuff, how it works out there, but here it's really big on, like, hey, if you don't have it's hard to find the plug-in and do all these things to really do what you do. So
hmm
in terms of just getting out there, you got to look at, like, hey, what's your driving pattern and what are you doing? For most, I think most people out here that have their EVs are just going from just using it for a commuting, just getting to and from work. But I think what you're talking about, with in other words, might be projecting outwards, and that's tough. And you can, I kind of talk a little bit about that in terms of, like, hey, if you're going to leave from LA to go to Arizona or Vegas, like, how long does that take in an EV versus a gas vehicle? And and that can kind of play in a little bit. I just
yeah.
think, yeah.
Yeah, I think Paul made a good point. It's based on region. And so with EVs, if you look at it like politically, California is the place that everyone credits with kind of kicking this whole thing off as starting it. But I think California is not actually ready. Their grid system is not ready for what they're pushing. The number two place for EVs is actually Florida, and Florida's grid is totally fine. So EVs are very popular here in Florida, and people don't have those issues. Then I think like a subsection of that is Tesla and everything else that's not Tesla. Because Tesla, if you have a Tesla, you can charge on Tesla's supercharger network, which is actually pretty awesome. I think they're up and running 99 point something percent of the time versus all the other things that you have like Electrify America, etc., which are horrible. I've used those before, and yeah, people don't like those. On top of that, in places like California, people are stealing the copper out of the charging wires and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah, I think
You're definitely right.
aren't they about to charge you in California for driving electric cars because the gas tax on the gas cars pays for the roads, and people who drive the electric cars aren't contributing?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that's California and Texas and a couple of other states. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Florida
no, no.
just passed it.
I was saying you're exactly right. Like, from like, you do the same thing for solar panels and everything else. Like, they look at, like, the electric company has, you got, you're getting something, and they're like, they still want whatever, they want more from you. Actually, that, so it's like, yeah, you're saving on this, but you got to pay a tax to, on that. So it's a very interesting situation out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Not just California. I think Texas is doing it in some other places because they were all getting tax money from people buying gasoline, diesel, right? And now if you're not buying that because you have an electric vehicle, they're like, oh, we're not getting that money, so we have to figure out a way to get some kind of money from you. And if people, I'm not into electric vehicles for that purpose. I like them because they're
Fast.
fast. Yeah, they're fast. They're convenient as well. If you can charge at home for most of your needs, that's awesome. I really not a fan of gas stations. Um,
I don't want to go on too far of a tangent, but did you guys hear about Thomas Massey's house he built? It's totally off grid.
mhm,
He bought a wrecked Tesla so he could make it off grid. Because if you get a new Tesla and you're part of their program, I guess they force you to be online so you can pump electricity back into the grid when you're not
mhm.
using it. So anyway, he just bought one that was wrecked and used so he could just use the power unit. But anyway,
What state?
he just
What
died
state? What
yesterday.
state is?
Yesterday.
Oh yeah, what state is Massey in?
I want to say Kentucky. He's right by Rand Paul.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's
That
totally off grid. He said they literally try to just burn electricity some days, like turning on ice makers and running the air conditioning and stuff, because I
mhm,
guess too much. They don't. There's no benefit to him since he's off grid. He doesn't pump it back into the grid.
yeah. I think it makes sense if you could do it to get off grid, right? Or as much as you can to get off grid.
Yep.
I'm definitely an advocate for that. And I know the future of electric cars. I was just looking at the CEO of Ford talking about how Fords can feed back to your house or feed back to the grid. And I think the Cybertruck has that, where you have this big battery in your vehicle. If your power goes down, you can have it connected to your house and run off of that. So that's a benefit. Saves you from getting one of those automatic home generator setups, right?
But if it's run off a battery, you have a limited amount of time. It's not like a generator. You just fire it up on the diesel. Go
Yeah.
source some diesel, fill it up, and keep running. With a battery, it's
And
done.
I'll say from experience here. Now I don't know wherever. I know John, you're in Florida. Hank, are you in Florida?
He is.
Yeah.
So specifically, our experience with Florida power outages. Yeah, you could have a power outage for 6 minutes. You could have a power outage for 6 days.
Right.
And it all depends on which way the wind's blown. Sometimes you get a
Yeah.
hard heavy rain, and something kicks something out.
Hmm.
Those short little bursts of time. That feature or function, like even specific, like right now, I'm outside on my patio. My laptop was dying. I've got a little battery bank, right? I've got a little battery bank with AC outlet. I'm charging
Hmm.
my laptop as we're talking. Those types of products that are now being integrated or reverse fed from a product that basically is a big battery. There's a lot of function. There's a lot of comfort in knowing that you have that as a backup. But I don't think long term or as an actual emergency plan, I don't think any of that makes any sense. Because again, you're stuck with what you have, right? Then
Yeah.
you're starting to trickle off of it. Then you're going to run your refrigerator for an hour and let it cool down, and then you're going to unplug it because you've got to conserve energy, something like that. But
Yeah.
I know Tesla also offers the power walls too. Tesla has an in-home product as well.
Yeah. So now if you think about Cybertruck, I don't have those stats in front of me, but that's over 100 kilowatt hours on a Cybertruck. I mean, that's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of juice. That
Um,
even that can take you for several days depending on what you actually
if
run
you're
in your
not
home.
cranking the AC and the fridge and
Well, it
everything
depends.
else.
It depends. I mean,
It,
yeah. I mean, think of just normal. What are you going to use in a house? You're going to charge your phones. You're going to charge your emergency devices.
You
You're going
run
to
your
try to run a
fridge.
refrigerator.
Yeah, run the
You
fridge. I would run the fans. I wouldn't even, in an emergency situation, I wouldn't necessarily even want my AC to go on. My fridge, my fans, things like that. I mean, I grew up in a third world country, so I've been without power
You're
for like
tough.
half the year. Yeah.
so,
Florida is lightweight to me. Although you're right, like we can, someone gets drunk out here and hits the power line, and you got no power for
Yeah, you
whatever
could be
amount
down
of
for a
time.
little while.
Yeah.
yeah.
so what do you think about the fact that a lot of these charging stations and whatnot, like, so we're all talking about electricity here, and they most of them do have to be fed through fossil fuels.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Hank's not a
so
greenie weenie. He just likes them because they're fast. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
but
No, and that's a huge misdirection in the conversation towards
I
EVs
mean, we
when you
should
look
be
at
doing
like,
nuclear. Let's be honest. But the greenie weenies ruin everything that's good.
So I
hey,
think,
nuclear's been up and coming for three
yeah,
decades.
nuclear
Again,
is. Yeah, the modern nuclear is really safe, right? And we
Oh,
need
it's
to do
super
it.
safe. It's efficient. It provides a ton of power. You just have to get
Mhm,
rid of the spent fuel rods, which is it's an issue. It's not like zero issue, but
mhm.
there's an issue with any kind of power generation.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if Paul was about to say that, but so California, the place that they need it, they don't want new nuclear power
Yeah,
stations. Florida is totally fine with that, and also, I think if you look up the stats, whoever's going to check the stats, it's at least 70% of Florida's power is created by compressed natural gas, propane, etc., which America has more of that than Saudi Arabia has oil.
and
So, and that's not the super clean, but it's
cleaner than
very
coal.
it's cleaner than coal and cleaner than diesel or
Well,
other
it's the crazy thing where our government just cuts the legs out from under itself. Like we haven't built a new oil refinery in however many decades. So every time there's
Mhm.
a problem with the supply chain of
Yeah,
petroleum, it sends ripples through it, and the prices go through the roof because it's just
yeah,
hard to get it through the refineries in a timely manner. And it's
yeah,
like we could build new ones that would be cleaner, more efficient, better, but no, 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 we're not allowed to.
yeah.
You know,
And let
Hank,
me
you're
go ahead.
totally right.
Mhm,
You're totally right, Hank. Just West's perspective, like you said.
mhm.
We are kind of jumping in terms of pushing without looking at the infrastructure, and I think you're definitely right there. We're not utilizing these other aspects. We're not utilizing things to do that, and that's just
All
I
right,
mean,
it's time for a
Mhm.
quick comedic break. Hang on here. I don't know if you guys have seen
Uh-oh.
this. Somebody made this video.
that comedic break is his mullet there, though.
Oh boy, Tim's only a matter of time.
Yeah, we went this earlier.
Oh boy. I can't see the video that he's showing. I don't know if you guys can.
I can't see it either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was somebody took a footage of Kim, uh, the Rocket Man.
Oh, okay. And your feed is gone. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So they took the
Yeah.
Rocket Man and Putin, and they showed them driving around this limo, and they cut it to the Top Gear audio.
Oh, I've seen that. I
It
think
was
I've
very
seen that.
funny.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
the best part about it was I thought that they actually can just get in a car and drive it. Like I don't know why we won't let the president drive a car. I think that's preposterous.
We shouldn't let our current one drive the car, but I don't know
Well,
what the rules. I
that
don't know
I'm
what
with
the
you.
rules
I
are
That I'm
here
with
on
you.
politics.
don't think you need a license after 80 but you
Yeah,
need to
you
take
have
a
to, you have
test.
to retake your test
Yeah,
after
you
80.
need to take your
Yeah.
test. I don't know what the rules are in DC, but
Yeah.
yeah, most
Yeah.
Yeah,
states.
I remember when my grandfather lost his ability to drive his license, and he was 100 times more coherent than the guy
Yeah.
with the nuclear codes. So
And
Absolutely.
actually,
Oh my
and
god, that
actually,
guy's been scary.
that's something else because I think a lot of these people making policies on vehicles don't drive.
Yeah, totally.
No,
Well,
I
it's like the
agree.
people want to make gun
It's
rules
been
and they know
traffic.
nothing about guns. Like
I
that's
mean, this is gun rules are different, but driving, like, come on, are you not? Most of these people aren't driving.
I think they don't want us to drive in the first place, but you know what? This is where something. So, like, let's say we're talking about Tesla. I'm not against FSD. I think it's cool. I personally don't like to use it. So my wife in her car, she got that preview for 30 days and she was using that all the time. But this is a place where it could benefit us, right? Where the older folks who maybe shouldn't be driving, they can still get around without having to spend extra money to get a driver or some kind of caregiver to move them around.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the Teslas at work in terms of you know interaction with SpaceX, and it's amazing the way that they have it going. So
Yeah.
as far as FSD and incident reports and rates, things like that, how is the incident rate up from? I mean, you've heard of horror stories, trying to do 3 lane changes in a matter of,
Hmm.
1/100th of a mile and creating, havoc on the road. Has it become more safe?
I think FSD, from what I've seen, when they switched over before, they were doing like basically programming the car to drive, and then they
Mhm.
switched over to kind of like a neural net, more closer to AI, where the car is literally learning how to drive through visual instruction. I think it has gotten better from what I've seen, but yeah, not, even the pinnacle of them making it perfect, which I think they're not there. Even if they made it perfect, we would still have accidents, um, and we would maybe have
Right.
less accidents if they forced where they made everyone had to let the AI drive. But I think we would still have accidents. There's still, your unknowns. There's always those variables of things that could happen.
That's all.
So
That's always my, everything I always say is, everything's great until it isn't, right?
yeah,
Everything's programmed perfectly, and then all of a sudden, you don't know what you don't know, and there's something that comes up.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
even
But
yeah.
uh,
Go ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
saying you're gonna have to put it through these tough driving situations that I think that they haven't really been able to do. Like, it's easy to do it in a place where you're not in the thick of it. But when you get into a place like let's say you're driving in Tampa or Orlando or something like that, where you know it's a lot different than driving outside of that. So
100%, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's going to take a little while for those algorithms to really hit. So um,
Yeah,
so
and there's dangers behind it too. I saw Jim. I think it's Jim. I want to say it's Jim Farley. Chris Farley was his cousin that was the comedian, or I've got it the other way around. The Ford CEO, and even he was saying that he's worried about people crashing them. Right, like if you've got this, someone could hack that and crash that car and take people out.
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, so you
It's
have to
like
think
Knight
about all
Rider,
of.
except that instead of a benevolent AI controlled machine,
These
it's
are
I'm
just going
pretty.
to be taking out
yeah,
people.
these are just
Yeah,
new opportunities for bad guys to slip
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure even Kit tried to kill Knight Rider once or twice in the
Well,
in
they
that
had
series.
Car on the show. They had the bad one, Kit versus
Yeah,
Car. Remember K A
yeah,
R R?
yeah. But I'm sure. I think I'm trying to remember if there was an episode where, and I don't know how old everyone else is, but I think there was an episode where Kit went bad or something like that. It happened.
I don't remember one where Kit. Maybe he did. Maybe he did go
I
bad in one.
do
His
I
programming
do
got
remember
hacked or
that
something.
episode. I do remember that episode. It was like he got like something bad got into, like, yeah, I do
Hmm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what and to get back real quick to the power thing. I saw someone talking about this. So we all worry about the power that we're using for electric cars, but the data center power is even more than that. And no one's really trying to figure out like where all these data centers that are popping up for everyone that's using AI, including the government. Where is that really coming from? That takes a lot of power.
All right.
And you
That,
and you got to look at the difference between what we do here with that kind of data center versus Europe, which is totally different. So like say you have an Audi and things like that the way they operate is totally different in Europe than it is in the United States, because you have to have, you know, we have to physically have things housed here, whereas in Europe you can have things housed other places and do things. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, it's good point there.
guys, for the
Yeah.
audience, it was season 4, episode 13. It was called Killer Kit, KITT.
Hmm.
Marco Barrio, former employee of Flag, used his knowledge of Kit to override the CPU and turn him against his owner, Michael Knight. That was January 10th, 1986. So literally just shy of 40 years ago. They
Yep.
were they were
Which
contemplating these kinds of things.
which makes you wonder, back in, we were all, I mean, I'm 42, so I've, we lived through Y2K, and everybody was worried about what was going to happen to the computers. But I remember very vividly, probably around that time, and maybe even after, when we were in college, you get a ransomware on your computer for whatever reason, and it's like, we're gonna hold your files hostage unless you do this. They're going to do the same stinking thing with cars
Yeah.
eventually.
Well, because
Once something has been oversaturated to the point where
could you
there's no
imagine if you're like
more.
stuck in traffic or whatever, and it's just like ransomware, you're going nowhere.
Yeah. If you
There's already proposals for that, and I think it's in place. I think where they're they're talking about, at least in California, where it's like if you're driving over something, they're gonna there's a they're gonna shut your car down or whatever.
Oh,
So I
you're
mean,
talking about the government even being the one doing it. Yeah, well, I
yeah,
was
yeah,
talking
yeah. That's actually
strictly hackers in
that's
general.
actually on
Yeah.
the yeah
It's on the
Yeah.
on the
agenda
docket.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's going to do it right now. Just to like, there's a big dealership network. I think it's huge. It encompasses most of the dealerships are right now having to pay a ransom to get access to their system again. So there's a whole bunch of people. If you look it up, it's on the news. They are having to use pen and paper to take notes and log people in and out that have
I heard
service
of this like
issues.
parts departments and stuff. They just got like
Yeah,
hacked and they're down.
yeah. So,
Must be
yeah.
Kia, John.
And that's
Hey,
huge because they're getting counterfeit parts in, and that's I think that's the biggest thing. When they do that, and not a lot of people don't. I mean, I work. I'm in some of the industries and stuff that do that, but they that's the name of the game. They get those counterfeit parts in. We can't track them,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
all right,
then they fail. They fail. Oh.
I got to give Paul a minute if you want, Paul. How I don't know how much you want to share. Paul's had a not perfect Kia Telluride experience. He just
Okay.
bought one.
Besides
What
besides besides Tiger Woods,
Besides
is that? What he
Cyberwoods.
wrecked? Was that a Telluride?
Really?
I don't know if it was a
I thought it was
Telluride.
a Genesis or something.
I mean, it's like the version of the
I can't. I remember people making a big deal because he was always a Buick sponsor or a Buick.
Oh,
yeah, but
Uh,
he went to Genesis, and then but
it was a
the
Genesis of
vehicle
some kind.
is like the Telluride version of the Genesis, or
The
Oh
you know.
yeah, the
Palisade.
Genesis
So,
competitor for it.
but they're all
No, no,
they're all
no,
the
like no,
same
it's
though.
like the luxury version of the yeah.
So Genesis, the GVs and Genesis and the Hyundai. I mean, it's all technically Hyundai and
same.
Kia are owned by the same parent company in Korea and South Korea. But we purchased the Kia. I had a my wife drove a Chrysler Town and Country until the wheels fell off of it. Basically, I had a lot of work to do with it. We traded it in on a brand new off the truck Telluride, paint sticker. She was so excited. I was so excited. Every review we ever read, everything about it. We were going to look at hybrid. We weren't looking at EV, but we paid almost $50,000 for a vehicle. It's been in the shop at least half a dozen times already. I'm up to 4 recalls pending right now. We've got the same original problem that cropped its head up at 10 days of ownership. We have moisture in the harness, corrosion in the harness, which is causing feedback issues with the piezoelectric sensors in the bumpers. All these close proximity detection systems, everybody wants to say, oh, you can park it or it parks itself, or you get too close to your garage door and it's going to stop you. Ours is literally to the point now where it doesn't know what to do and it's locked up. I called the dealership. We're on vacation right now. I called the dealership, said, hey, I've wanted you guys to buy this back. You refuse to do it. You guys can have it right now. I need a vehicle. They offered me a Kia Soul to drive with a
Oh,
family of four to Orlando for the week in a Kia Soul. I could probably fit.
Yeah. How long have you had it, Paul?
Going up on a year.
So you're definitely qualified for the lemon law if you've taken it in over 3 times for the same issue.
So I talked to Attorney General's office last week, and there's one of two ways. It's the same issue 3 times, or it's 15 hours of out of service. If it's been out of service for 15
is
hours,
that all it takes is
we
15
get
hours?
back.
You're way past that, right?
Yeah, I would
We're
say.
pretty much past that, and they're getting it back as soon as we get back to Tampa.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
would
gonna
say
have
both.
it.
Yeah,
And so
I would
I've
do
got the
that.
paperwork to fill out, and we're starting that process. I've even talked to people who work for Kia that literally can't even help me.
Yeah, the dealership, it sounds like, doesn't want to help you, but they typically don't. The place buying it back would be Kia directly.
Kia corporate.
Yeah, the manufacturer. I went through a buyback before, not on an electric vehicle, but I'm having a problem, not as bad as yours, with my e-Transit, where it's making this weird sound, and I've taken it in over and over and over again, and they told me they fixed it, and they can't fix. Basically, it's when I start it up, it makes this weird buzzing sound that sounds like electricity is
Yep.
shorting out somewhere, and people told me, "Hey, that's the vacuum pump that's coming on because as you're driving, it comes on intermittently
What
whenever
do you
you
need a
go on the
vacuum
brake."
pump in an electric car for?
For the
Oh,
vacuum pump
they're
for the
still
brake.
vacuum. They're not electric assist. They're vacuum
Yeah,
assist.
yeah. So um, I've never seen that on any other car. I've gone through it over and over again, but it's obviously not as bad as Paul's situation. But
No, no,
it's
he's
a
been
point.
he's been very
Yeah,
frustrated.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the dealerships. Also, this is one of the reasons why I like electric cars in a way, because especially with a Tesla, you don't have to go through a dealership to buy it. I think we need to get rid of or severely neuter the dealerships because they have gotten horrible.
Oh my gosh, I'll give
They,
you a
they've shook
dealership horror story. I got a 22.
their
I
hand.
think I got a 22 at the end of 23 Jeep Gladiator, and the one headlight, the center like projector is dead, and it has like the halo thing around the outside. It's been like that
Mhm.
since I got it, and I just didn't have time to deal with it. It's like whatever, you know. And I finally got time. I took it in, and the kid's like at the service lane. He's like, "Oh, it's the bulb that's not covered," and I'm like, "It's an HID. It's not a. It's an LED like sealed housing. It's not a bulb." And they didn't want
Mhm.
to cover it, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me! It has 6,000 miles on it." Like it's just the dealership's looking for any reason to just deny
Yeah.
service, make you go away as quick as they can. And I think in Florida in particular, part of Paul's problem is like a lot of people in Florida, it gets stolen, it's someone crashes into you, a branch falls on it, you get flooded if you're in Miami the last few weeks. So they're just hoping one of these other things happens to your car and they can get it off their plate. And unfortunate for them where Paul is, outside Tampa, he's parks it at his house, it's safe, they're not crashing it, no one ran into them, no branches fell on it. It's like it's still your problem. Your car's not working correctly.
No, it's a massive problem. That Paul's car sounds like a straight up lemon, like it's
They're
unavoidably.
hoping it just gets stolen like all the other Kias with someone with a
They're
cell phone and
they're
a
hoping
USB cord.
the insurance companies pay
They're
out
like, they're
instead of
like
them.
putting your details on the dark web so somebody will come steal it.
Yeah,
Hey,
please
John,
save
there,
us.
yeah, John, there's a historic thing about Jeep though. I mean, you gotta look at that seriously
What's it?
seriously when you're diving into like getting a Jeep because it's
Well, here's the
I
weird
mean
thing.
it's
I got the
every
diesel.
every company that's bought Jeep and that's done them has
It's
not
been
done
rough.
well. It has not done well, and
Like I got the diesel.
if you're getting something, trying to get something
Yeah.
sexy that you think from Jeep, you're just go with the bread and butter that a lot of other guys get. With this
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So the
this
bread
is
and
stuff, and
butter
I
are
think
these
you'll be
other
all right.
engines, and the diesel is way better. I get like 22 miles to the gallon. It's good torque band. I like most things about it, but just this dumb stuff with the maintenance, and they can't help you. Oh, and I'll tell you, there it has an auxiliary battery for I don't even know what, and it's always coming up telling me the auxiliary battery is dead and certain features aren't available because it has to charge it up. And I'm like, I don't use the auxiliary. I just drive it like every day or two. Like how could that battery be dead on a new vehicle? And then I looked online and there's horror stories about that. When it totally shits the bed, it causes all kind of problems.
Do you have auto start stop in there
Yes, and
or
it's never working, which doesn't bother me. But I
yeah.
think that's what that battery's for, is for the auto start stop.
Yeah, it would either be for that or some kind of hybrid system, but you would know if it was a hybrid of some
Yeah,
sort.
no, it's non hybrid, it's a diesel,
Yeah.
just the traditional. But you're right, it is that's for the auto
Glad
start
this.
stop, which never
Yeah.
works, which doesn't bother me because I don't really care how much am I going to save in a light. Um,
Right.
Oh,
but you're right.
it's the worst feature ever though on any vehicle. I wish they
Oh
would
yeah,
have
it causes all
gotten.
kind of premature wear to everything.
Yeah.
And
It's
your
the
air
most
conditioning
disheartening
quits working
thing.
when you're sitting there.
Oh, it shuts your air conditioning off. Yeah, you're sitting there
Well,
in
it
the
blows for a
sunroom.
minute. It's for like about
10 seconds, it's cool.
six
Yeah.
to 10 seconds. It's okay, and then it just gets this hot, humid air blowing on you. And I would always just let off the brake and hit it, and then it would start. But yeah,
Hank,
that
Hank, I
battery is
got a
crapped out.
Hank, I got a question for you. What are your thoughts on the military shifting to EV vehicles for
Have you
tanks
heard
and
Trump talk about the electric tanks?
no, no, it's not related to that. I'm just saying that it's that there is a thought that
Yeah. There's always been.
we can do this with
Yeah.
EVs,
Right.
and just looking to see what your thoughts are on that.
So there's always been this push. I remember going to SEMA show years ago. This is like maybe 5 to 7 years ago, and there was a hydrogen EV there that GM had, and they said it was for military use, and it looked all badass and futuristic. And I remember saying to them, so I was like, "Who's going to use this?" And they were like, "Oh, special ops dudes." And I was like, "Oh, so they're gonna, so some special ops dudes are gonna go into Afghanistan with this vehicle that's clearly, looks like, oh, these is the army right here, right?
A hydrogen bomb.
Yeah,
You
but no,
know.
but also it's so stand off. Like, you need, if you're gonna be undercover, if you're going in on a mission, you probably need like whatever they're using, right? Like a Toyota Hilux or
Well,
something
it
like
could
that.
make you a little quieter and have a little smaller heat
Mhm.
signature, but when you just look at the sheer weight of the batteries and how volatile they are
Yeah,
if they take a stray round, the amount of armor
yeah,
you have to put on them, and then the fact that
Yeah,
like you can
I'm not
hot
talking
trim the
about.
vehicle
I'm not
pretty
talking
quick.
about those type of vehicles. Yeah, you're right. That in terms of getting things like that, but they are actually looking at like, hey, how are we going to get hydrogen? Well, the hydrogen's a big thing, but at least EVs,
yeah.
for to replace like to for our Bradleys and tanks and these things.
I think
I
there's
don't
a
know enough
benefit.
about it, but it sounds like a bad idea to me.
I think there's a benefit depending on what it is, right? So certain, yes, for quietness, that makes a lot of sense. There are certain things that are already using it. There's some drone.
This has nothing to do with this like being quiet.
Yeah,
I think it's more or less like getting off of gas.
yeah. There's
Uh,
definitely there's
so
definitely
so
benefits, right? I think there's definitely benefits. I mean, that's one of the things I like about electric. So anyone who's in Florida would remember when we had that hurricane hitting. It was supposed to hit the Keys, and everyone started like leaving the Keys in South Florida and driving north, and therefore there was a gas shortage here in Florida, and you couldn't go to a gas station and get gas. There's long lines. They ran out of gas stations shut down, and in that circumstance, if you still had power, you could plug in your car, get it charged up, and it's useful. So I think that's the same thing for military applications, right? If you don't have to go to gas stations or get fuel trucked in or however you're going to do it, that could help you sometimes. So there's
well, you'd
places.
have to have like a generator,
In
right?
any
So like
forward area,
so
they
if
have
you're
an
gonna
absolute crap load of
if
JP8, and they just put
if
that
you're
in.
gonna take if you're gonna take an Abrams tank and take it and make it EV, you know, the amount of gas that thing sucks down, to make it to get, I mean, you would have to have a huge generator, like just these are the things I look at, in terms of from the West Coast, especially with
Well,
when we look at how we don't have that kind of power to do
if the
things,
Hummer takes
and
a
you look at
really long time to
projecting
charge based on its weight, how long is a Bradley replacement going to take to charge?
or an
Uh,
Abrams, yeah.
yeah, it's not the weight. Is well, it is the weight, but it's the size of the battery. Now,
Right.
I think some of these things people don't realize it, but a lot of this stuff is getting solved. So in a very short time period. So I mean, like literally somewhere between.
They're like guys like us in the Congo are getting beat to drill this stuff out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
literally
so
have slave labor in other parts of the world to get the minerals
yeah.
they need to make the
So they're
batteries.
coming up
just
with
saying,
ways
just
to
saying.
get. Listen, I think that it's like tools, right? Not every tool is the right tool for the job. So you need to think like, hey, this is a good tool for this job, but for a different job, you need a different tool. That's just the way it goes. And I think that's the same thing with electric cars or in any for any application. There's some applications where it's totally fine. That works. That's going to be fine. You can figure out how to do that. And other applications where it's not going to work and it's definitely going to be a problem. So they have to figure that out. But I think batteries are going to get smaller and lighter. Maybe we're going to start seeing those in the next 2 to 5 years. There's already companies 3D printing batteries and doing different things that takes out the metals, the rare earth metals, etc.
Yeah,
Those are going to be expensive, but
we
yeah,
keep
we're
beating
working.
these dudes. We keep beating these dudes. They're gonna come out with stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I just don't think that every tool is going to work in every situation. And there's folks out there who, like, if you force everyone to have electric cars, I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Oh,
I
speaking of
just don't
which,
believe it.
we'll change gears a little bit. They say
Yeah.
the Corvette E-Ray is really popular right now. Those are like the highest demand out of the Z06 has been
Okay.
out for a little while. And I wanted to
Mhm.
touch on the craziness of the prices because I know Paul and I were watching them. Like when the C8 came out back in 2021, whatever that was, like base models with an MSRP of like 70 were going for like a buck 50. It was an insane time. It was like clown world.
That's based on the dealerships. That's the dealerships
Well,
doing that.
there were supply
And
chain
resale.
issues, and people thought the world was ending, and they were scared, so they wanted to buy them, and it was
Mm.
all kind of stuff. But anyway, those have come way down. Like even now, Z06s are basically going for not much over MSRP. But the
Mhm.
E-Rays, people really want those because they're super fast, and I think that's the only all-wheel drive Corvette you can get right now. Am I right?
Yeah,
Am I
I
right in
would
that?
think so. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there's only, I mean, the Z06 is two wheel drive. Base
Mhm.
model's two wheel drive. Granted, the engine's in the back, but the E-Ray is kind of it's basically a Z06 without buying
Front
the
with
Z06.
electric front
F-
wheels
Well,
drive.
from a performance perspective, when you look at it from its 0 to 60 times, its quarter mile times, it launches harder than the Z06, but the Z06 catches up to it
Well, what
because
Yeah.
you've got that drivetrain in front.
well, what which engine's in the E-Ray? Is it the base model engine?
It's the base pushrod V8.
Oh, it's the base engine, but it's
Yeah.
just faster because of the front drive off the launch and everything.
Yeah, and it has a very small battery, which it recharges very fast. It's like a performance hybrid, probably is the best way to look at it. It does have that motor, and then you can run it for a little while off that battery, just purely electric. And then I'm guessing front wheel drive at that point. It seems cool. I was waiting for so first of all, the C8 Corvette, man, that's one of the most awesome things that's come along in the car world for a long time. I'm just disappointed that like all these grandpas out there went and bought them, like in the villages and stuff. So now I'm
Yes.
kind of like, you know, it's kind of tough to buy one now when you have, I thought the old dudes would not like them. I was hoping the old dudes would hate them, and then we'd be able to get them cheap, but it didn't go that way.
It's coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. It'll happen, and we'll probably get an all-wheel drive one. We'll probably get an all-electric one at some point.
Hey Hank, my uncle's heading down there soon. He loves he's got his retirement Supra, and he likes to shoot, man. So I got to hook him up with you. All
Okay.
right,
All
yeah.
right. Cool. Is he going to the villages?
I got to see where he's going.
Okay.
But he'd love to. He'll race his Supra up to get to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, all right. I'm just looking at these vet prices, and like here's a Z06, a 2023, 3,500 miles, 133 grand, which is not bad. That's like cheaper than a base model was in the peak of things.
Hmm.
There's a 2023 base for 88, which is still a little high, if you ask me. Like Z51. Oh, there's a 21 for 105. That guy's on crack.
Yeah, just a regular. I I don't know. I think probably the E-Ray is special. And then what's the big engine that's coming out? Is that
There's supposed to
um
be a ZR1 coming.
okay? How many horsepower is that?
Oh, it's gonna be big. They haven't. So Chevy teased it.
They're touting 800 plus.
They're saying
Wow.
900 on this twin turbo.
Hmm.
What's it going to
Hmm.
be? It's going to be a twin turbo flat plane overhead valve.
Wow. Man, I
No.
wish
When
they
you
would
look at
make
just
those all-wheel drive. Those would be fantastic as all-wheel drive. I know that's a whole other argument. I don't know if you guys are for or against all-wheel drive, but I love all-wheel drive,
I
man.
don't want to say I'm against it. It has its purposes, but it's more fun to be able to get a little sideways, like standard rear-wheel
well,
drive.
the best situation with the new all-wheel drive with a hybrid, electric hybrid system is you can disengage the front drive.
So,
You can
yeah,
completely
and
get
on this
away from
they're
it.
claiming
Yeah.
the source claims the front axle will get electric motor. So it's basically kind of what you would have wanted. You would have wanted a Z06 with E-Ray in the front, which they didn't do. They did E-Ray with base model with electric in the front. So this will be. They're saying the electric is what puts it over 900. So it's going to be
Yeah.
ZR1 rear drive plus electric front drive,
Hmm.
166 horsepower to the front axle.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's the
there's some really cool takeaways from a lot of those cars that are true functional hybrids. You get the ability to pull away in stealth mode, right? If you're driving you want to put a MagnaFlow on your Corvette or whatever, and you want to pull out of the driveway at 6 a.m. or whatever, you just drive away in electric mode, and then a mile away from your house, you crank on, the big bad V8 and whatnot.
pretty cool.
So there are some things I love about the hybrid. There's some things I love about the fact that you have those improvements, but if you had the ability to then take away the electrified portion on the front drivetrain and just have rear wheel drive half the time, for the times when you want it, that would be a great implementation of that technology. A great way
Yeah.
to do it, rather than locking you in a full time 4 wheel drive
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I think, once again, it depends on what someone's looking for out of it. In general, I'm against hybrids unless it's on big vehicles. So I think like a van, like my van, big work commercial size vehicles, probably hybrids can help if
Oh,
you're
you're saying
forcing
the
it.
weight in a smaller vehicle is just there's too much of a trade off.
Now, I think like I see a car that's a hybrid the same way we all looked at a TV VCR combo. That's how I look at it. It's like
Yeah, they're trying to
if
do
your
too much at
VCR is
once.
Yeah, if your VCR is not working, then you're toast now. Or if the TV is not working, but your VCR is like, what's the point? Might as well separate them. And for cars, I think we should just go all electric or just go all combustion
Well,
power. So I would.
Khalil's rocking a hybrid out in California, and but I
Mhm.
don't think he's had like a whole lot. It's not a super high performance. It's like a Lexus, right, Khalil? Because it gets you.
No, it's an Avalon,
Oh, it's
so
a
the
Toyota.
same as
That's
a,
right. It's not Lexus.
so the same as a, like an ES 300 version. I mean, I mean,
It's saving you a lot of gas when you sit in traffic on the 405.
Mhm.
definitely. I think hybrid technology is off the chain right now. I mean, it's going. I mean, they have stuff at the newer ones, or the mileage is just exponential almost. Um, it's really the EV. I mean, we have a couple different things going on in California. So
Yeah,
you
you
have the
do.
hot yeah we have
I
the
can't
hot. I
believe
mean,
you
yeah.
killed at the Newport Beach Pier.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we weren't talking about that. But anyway,
No, it's
so
okay.
we got I mean so we have the hydrogen technology that's going on with the Mirais, right?
Right.
Yep.
For Toyota, and
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you gotta pretty much like, you know talk about, give a profile of yourself to get one, and do all that. But it's limited to like just pretty much around the ports, and in LA is where you can get, where you can feel that hydrogen stuff. So, for me, I live around the port. Yeah, yeah, that would be a good deal, right? For me to get a Mirai, because, like, yeah, it's right up the street. I can feel it and everything. But if I want to go project anywhere, I'm fucked, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, we have these things, but we just don't have the infrastructure to project anywhere. Like if I want to go to Vegas, it's going to take way longer than it would to take in a combustion.
Yeah.
What's a one
I
way
want to
trip
go
to
to,
Vegas from where you are? How many
I'd
miles?
say it's, so what a one way trip is under, like, it's like two from LA to Vegas is under 300, so it's like 250 or whatever,
Okay,
right, or
so
something like
that's
that.
like most electric cars could do that in one charge.
No, but that's like as advertised. Like
Yeah.
if you got four people in the car, if you're driving a heavier,
Trunk wiper down.
if you're
You're
driving a
just in
truck,
traffic. You're running the air
if you're
conditioning
driving a
full
truck that
blast.
does that, if you're pumping your AC, if you're doing anything like that, I mean, I've been with people that, like, we've been in I've been in cars with them, and they're like trying to figure out how they're gonna make it home, and it's crazy. You know, they
Yeah.
got Fiats, and they're like, you know, they got this, and they're just like, all right, hey, babe, turn this down or do
Yeah, but
this,
what's the range on a Fiat? Those Fiat electrics, the range is very low. Like my e-Transit, the range is 125 miles.
you know,
So that's
it's
not
still
meant to go.
they give you that range, right? But when
Mhm.
you start doing things in the car, that range goes out the window.
So Google
You know,
claims the
when
Fiat
you start
range
turning
is
things on, right, and doing other
141
things,
miles.
Yeah, that's not enough to do that trip. Like a Tesla will do that easily. We'll get there and then you charge up.
that's what they say.
Right?
But like when you turn the radio on, when you have more than one person in the vehicle, it affects that.
Yeah, I don't think it affects as much. The bigger thing that affects an electric vehicle is if you're towing. The weight itself doesn't affect it that much. The batteries are heavy and it's rolling and
I've
so it has
seen it
rolling
happen. I've
resistance
seen
and
it
all that.
happen. I've
I
seen
don't
it
know.
happen when
So
people are worried about defrosting the windows.
I'm consulting Google, which never lies. And this
Okay.
source, which was electrictech.co,
Hmm.
they say the 2021 Model Y, which advertised 326, barely hit 250 miles, and average closer to 200. And then they said in winter, they got as low as 124 miles.
Yeah, it's gonna change depending on where you are. But like we have a Model X, the range on that fully charged is 310 miles. We've gone from here where we live in Gainesville to Orlando, which is around the same distance that you're talking about, and almost come like maybe three quarters of the way back before we had to charge.
But are
And
you
we
looking at the everybody filled in the car?
yeah, we've done it with four people before. We've done it that
Okay.
takes up to
All right.
six people. So I think it really depends on what the vehicle is and what's going on with it. Now, and also how fast you're driving. Now, if you're driving really fast, you are going to see because you know you're putting more power on it, right? So I think it's how you drive versus the weight. So like my e-Transit, you know, it has
That's the
120.
Audi. That's the Audi, right?
No, the e-Transit is the Ford van that's electric.
Oh, okay.
It
Okay.
has a 125-mile range, but it can carry up to 3,000 pound cargo. I think it's like 3,500 pounds cargo, and it doesn't affect it because it's already a big box. What affects it is if you try to tow, so they don't even want you to tow with it.
Okay.
This is just some random guy on Reddit, but he said he bought the Long Range 3, and he admits it will never ever do
Yeah.
the 358 that
So
was advertised.
I don't
I've
think
heard
so.
that. I've heard that number of times. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you get more people in the vehicle when you're turning things on. I mean, I was in a vehicle with and they were afraid to make like how are we going to make it home like up hills. You know, they're trying to reroute how they're doing things because like if the vehicle goes up a hill, that dynamically changes the you know the power that like with the output and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I think you have to look at how they were driving and what they were doing. That's what affects it. But if you have a low range, you got to manage that, especially if, you know, let's say it is a lot of people in there and that's affecting it. Now, maybe the AC, I would say it would affect it with a bunch of people in there because you're trying to cool everyone down and the AC maybe is running more. But and that would use up some of it. But you always have to have more than you need because if that's the case, that happens with any vehicle is going to use more based on more people being in there, more AC and all that kind of stuff, right? So,
But
Yeah,
the hybrids are doing really well with that though.
hmm,
And I think that's something we have to look at is that you know like the hybrids are
Yeah,
you
they're
don't have to deal with that.
overperforming
You
for
don't have to
range and
deal with
everything
that,
else. Yeah.
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
just
So, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you guys off. I see there's this 3 minute warning here,
Yeah, it's giving
Jonathan.
me a 3 minute warning because I'm on the
Yeah,
free version of Google Meet.
yeah.
So,
You're on the
but I
free
think we had
version,
a good.
man.
I know I got to upgrade, but I think we had a
Yeah,
good first one. We got through a lot of stuff. We spent way longer on electric stuff, but I mean it's a big thing right now.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
global
I think
news
yeah,
right now.
it was a good conversation. I think you know we could definitely do this again. So I don't
Yeah,
know how you guys feel.
yeah. Well, we didn't have a lot of audience, but the channel was kind of dead for a while, so I think I'll get it juiced up, and we'll have some good conversations on here.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, this is Khalil. I really love what you had to say, man. I know that, yeah, I love what you were saying. I mean, you were on point on everything you said.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you guys at
He's
like
an engineer. He knows a lot of stuff about
Yeah, I'm the engineer of the group.
Yeah,
yeah.
and you stayed at Holiday Inn, right?
stayed at Holiday Inn Express.
No,
The
I got a
engineer.
piece. I got a piece of paper somewhere that says I'm an engineer. So
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. The engineers start all the problems. You know.
They
hey,
start him
we
and
get
they
to
fix
hide.
him.
Yeah.
We get to hide
Hey, but
behind teachers
that's
and
what we
pages of
go with,
manuals
man.
somewhere.
I, that's what we go with. I always refer to engineers and do that. I got like John said. I went to the Air Force Academy. I got I got it. I I have all the engineering classes. But I'm not a formal engineer. But I know a little bit enough to be stupid.
They just teach you how to teach yourself. That's all they really do anymore
Yeah,
anyway. And a lot of people will concur with that. It's really helping you understand how to help yourself. And I think
yeah.
we're all kind of same cloth.
I know a little bit about everything. And I piece it together, and I take what you say, and I like look it up, and I can understand. So
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I got to
Yep.
upgrade this thing. We're under a minute. It's going to cut us off. So we'll
All
make
right,
that.
John. I'll let you.
Thank you all
Yeah,
for
let's
joining.
let
It
you
was,
wrap.
it was a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, we can wrap.
We'll wrap. Gentlemen,
All right,
Good talk,
guys.
guys.
Good talking to you
it was
guys.
fun.
Peace.
good
Later.
talking to you. Later.
Yeah.
See you.